They think silence means weakness. They think you didn't notice. They think you're afraid. They're wrong. Silence isn't surrender. Silence is control. Because the most dangerous person in the room isn't the loudest. It's the one who doesn't react. The one who watches. The one who stays calm while others lose composure. The one who lets disrespect fall to the floor without picking it up. When you stay silent, people get uncomfortable. Their mind starts racing. Did that work? Did I cross a line? Why didn't they respond? And that uncertainty eats them alive. Most people explode when disrespected. They argue, they explain, they defend. You didn't. That tells a powerful story. It says you're not controlled by emotion. It says you don't need approval. It says you choose when to speak. And that's terrifying to insecure people. If you've ever stayed quiet when disrespected, not because you were weak, but because you were aware, this video will change how you see yourself forever. Stay till the end. You're about to unlock a silent power most people will never understand. Let me tell you something nobody explains. People are comfortable with noise, arguments, anger, drama. Noise is predictable. You yell, I yell back. You attack, I defend. That's familiar. But silence? Silence breaks the pattern. Silence makes people uneasy because it gives them nothing to grab onto. No emotion to feed on. No reaction to control. No weakness to exploit. When someone disrespects you and you don't react, their mind starts running wild. Did I go too far? Did they even care? Are they planning something? Your calm becomes a question mark. And unanswered questions scare people more than insults ever could. Silence forces them to sit alone with their own behavior. No distractions, no justification. And that's where discomfort lives. Your silence becomes a mirror. It reflects their insecurity, their need for validation, their hunger for control. Most people can't stand that reflection because it exposes the truth. They needed your reaction to feel powerful. And when you deny them that, they lose leverage, they lose certainty, they lose control. That's why silence terrifies people. Not because it's empty, but because it's full of unspoken strength. You were told silence is weakness. Wrong. Silence is control. Weak people explode. Strong people observe. Anyone can shout. Anyone can insult back. Anyone can lose control in the moment. But staying calm while being disrespected? That takes discipline. That takes self-mastery. It means you're not ruled by ego, not hijacked by emotion, not playing their game. Your calm denies them power. Your restraint shifts the balance. That's not weakness. That's emotional dominance. Here's the psychology. When someone disrespects you, they're fishing for control. They expect one of two things: fear or reaction. Fear tells them they're above you. Reaction tells them they got under your skin. Both feed their ego. But when they get neither, their ego collapses. Your silence creates a mental short circuit. They replay the moment again and again, searching for the reaction that never came. Your calm tells them, I'm not affected by you. I don't need to prove anything. You don't have power here. And that message hits hard, because insecure people survive on validation. They need emotional responses to feel important. Your silence starves them. It forces them to confront a painful thought. Maybe they're not as significant as they believed. And that realization? That's terrifying. Not because you said something, but because you didn't. Silence is not passive. It's strategic. While others rush to react, you slow the moment down. You observe tone, you watch behavior, you notice patterns most people miss. Silence gives you space to think clearly while emotions cloud everyone else. You see who disrespects you publicly, who tests boundaries quietly, who reveals insecurity through subtle jabs. They think they won because you didn't respond. They mistake your restraint for surrender. But you're not losing. You're learning. You're learning how they move, what triggers them, what they expect from you. And that information is power. Because when the time comes to speak, you don't guess. You strike with precision. One sentence, perfect timing, maximum impact. That's why silence is dangerous. It turns moments into insight. And knowledge is leverage. Notice this. The calmest person in the room usually has the most control, not because they're silent, but because they're unshaken. Calm is a signal. It tells people you're grounded, centered, not easily moved. Calm means emotional discipline. It means confidence without noise. It means self-respect that doesn't need validation. People test boundaries instinctively. They poke, they provoke, they wait for a reaction. And when you don't flinch, something changes. They realize you're not reactive, not desperate, not weak. Your stillness makes them second-guess themselves. Your composure disrupts their sense of power. Because people fear what they can't control. And calm people, they can't be pushed. That's why they're respected. That's why they're feared. Not for what they say, but for what they refuse to give away. Let's be clear. Silence does not mean you accept disrespect. It doesn't mean you're okay with it. And it definitely doesn't mean you're powerless. Silence means choice. It means you decide when to speak, how to respond, and what outcome you want. You're not reacting emotionally in the heat of the moment. You're stepping back, evaluating, taking control of the situation. Reaction is impulsive. Response is intentional. When you react, emotions lead. When you respond, intelligence does. Your silence says, I see what you're doing. I'm not rushing into your trap. I'll handle this on my terms. That mindset changes everything, because the person who controls timing controls the conversation, and the one who controls the conversation controls the power. There's a massive difference between staying silent out of fear and staying silent out of strength. You're not avoiding confrontation. You're choosing mastery. Here's when the shift happens. Not immediately, not in the moment. It happens later. They notice you don't chase validation. You don't rush to explain yourself. You don't seek approval or try to be understood. You let your presence speak. That's when arrogance starts to fade, because confusion replaces certainty. They can't read you. They can't predict you. They can't provoke you. And that's uncomfortable. Most people feel powerful only when they understand your triggers, when they know which buttons to press, when they can control the outcome. But you removed the map. Your silence erased their advantage. Fear creeps in because unpredictability equals risk, and risk makes insecure people nervous. They start watching you instead of challenging you. Measuring their words, second-guessing their moves, because people can't control what they can't read. And once they realize that, they realize you're dangerous. Immediate reactions give power away. The faster you respond, the more control you surrender. A delayed response? That's authority. It signals confidence. It shows you're not pressured. It proves you're not emotionally hijacked. Silence creates anticipation. Anticipation creates tension, and tension creates fear. While you stay calm, they replay the moment again and again. What did I say? Did I cross a line? Why haven't they responded? Your absence from the emotional chaos becomes the loudest message in the room. They expected instant reaction. They expected validation through conflict. Instead, they got nothing, and nothing is powerful. Because while they're stuck reliving the moment, you've already moved on, focused, grounded, untouched. Delayed response shifts the balance. It forces them to wait. And the one who waits is never the one in control. That's why silence, used correctly, commands authority without a single word. The loudest people burn out fast. They waste energy proving, defending, reacting. The silent ones, they last. They conserve energy. They stay focused. They move with intention. While others argue publicly, silent people build privately. They sharpen skills. They strengthen position. They prepare for moments that actually matter. Silence keeps them out of unnecessary battles. It protects their mindset. It preserves their power. They don't need to announce every move. They don't need applause along the way. They grow in the background. And when they finally speak, it's not noise. It's direction. It's clarity. It's weight. People listen because silence trained them to. In a world addicted to attention, restraint becomes an advantage. That's why silent people win long term, not because they hide, but because they choose the right moment to be seen. Silence doesn't mean forever, it means timing. You don't stay quiet out of fear. You stay quiet to choose the right moment. And when you break the silence, you do it once. With precision, with calm, with confidence. No emotional spill, no over-explaining, no raised voice. Just one sentence that lands, one look that holds, one move that shifts the room. That's all it takes to reset the power dynamic. Because the goal was never to argue. It was to establish boundaries. Your calm delivery makes the message unavoidable. Your restraint gives your words weight. People expect drama. They expect volume. What they don't expect is quiet certainty. And that's why it works. When silence breaks with clarity, it commands respect, without asking for it. Every time you stay silent under disrespect, you train your nervous system. You teach your body not to panic, not to explode, not to hand control to emotion. That training compounds. Over time, you become steady, grounded, unshakable. What once triggered you no longer moves you, and that's real strength. Disciplined people scare others because they're not reactive. They don't operate on impulse. They don't leak emotion. They choose their responses carefully. They act with intention, not instinct. That level of control is rare. Most people are predictable. Push here, they react. Say this, they explode. But you pause. You breathe. You decide. And that pause changes everything. Because the person who can control themselves can't be controlled by anyone else. That's why inner strength grows in silence, and why not everyone can handle it. Never mistake your silence for invisibility. People are watching, they're noticing, they feel it, and deep down, they know you're not weak, you're dangerous. If this hit you, you're not alone. Comment silence below if you understand this power. Subscribe if you're building unbreakable strength. And remember, the quietest person in the room is often the one in control.